Hi, Chris here from King Oak. Hey, listen, I found this beautiful piece of maple, and I'm telling you, it's well, you can see there. I cleaned it off. I got the bark off. I gave it a kind of a rough sanding. So anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to put this together with some epoxy. We're going to do going to put it on the lathe, and then make a bowl. I'm really excited about it. So, without further ado, we'll get to work. We're going to mix our stuff up. The main focus of this is actually doing the epoxy on the lathe. So, mixing, basic. I'm using ice products here, ice cast it's called, and it's a 2-to-1 mix because this is actually about 2.5 inches, so it's going to be a little bit thick, about 2 to 3 inches in depth here. So you want to make sure you go with the 2-to-1 to give you that stability and strength. Okay, so that's my maple. It's a little rough there, as you can see, but that's okay because it's going to go on the lathe and we're going to round that off. So that's going to be cool, but we'll see that process as well. Okay, so that's my wood. Talk quickly. This is the Crafted Element silicone mold that Sean and the guys have sent me from Crafted Elements. Beautiful mold. Really looking forward to this. You can do some deep cast in here. This is only going to be about 3 or 4 inches, but you can. This is 5 inches deep. It's thick, crazy. It weighs, I don't know what it weighs, but it's really well built. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get right at it here. Going to mix this because the bulk of the work is going to be on the wood lathe, and I really want to focus on that today. Okay, so first things first. Now, I already poured a little bit here to save a little bit of time. So I've got my B. So B is the 1, and the A on this is the 2, right? So 2A to 1B. 1B. Well, don't want to confuse you. Okay, so I'm going to pour away. So there's my hardener, my B. Put that booger in there. Here's my first cup of A, and I marked it so I didn't forget. It can happen to the best of us. So we'll put those guys in there. Let that pour out quite a bit. Never seems to all come out in one shot. It's a little thick. Okay, so I've got a little bit left in this A, so I'm going to pour off as much as I can here. And that might take a long time, so I'm going to open up the other new one and I'll get that going. So now we've got our 2-to-1. Now, I suspect when I measured before, and I'll be honest, the wood was in there, I poured some water in, found the level, and that's how I came up with my calculation. There's other ways to do it, but that's how I did it. And then I let the board dry. It's really dry. Okay, so I know I'm going to need a little bit more than that. So what I'm going to do here okay, so here's what we're going to do. We'll kind of get this stirred up. First and foremost, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put our epoxy mold release in here. I'll tell you, it will save this thing. You'll be able to get lots and lots of use out of it. This creates the ability for the silicone, when you get ready to pop it out, to come out nice and smooth. You're not ripping any of the silicone here. So, Sean said, make sure you get this. It's in the directions, so follow the directions when you get your containers. Okay, so I'm going to give this a good go here. I never know how high up I'm going to go, so poof. It's good. Okay, so that's dripping there. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm actually going to put a little bit of my product in first, actually. That'd give my board a nice little place, nice little bottom here. So we're gonna drop her down. Okay. I'm gonna come out here. I'm gonna snag them very quickly. I learned the hard way, but nothing to happen really bad, but just don't overheat this stuff. I just go very quickly, get the air bubbles. There's a bunch setting right there, so I'm gonna just give it a quick shot here. I don't want to overheat it. Okay, and then what I will be doing throughout the day, over the next hour or two, I'll be coming down and doing the checking for bubbles, making sure, like there's some bubbles over here. You're going to see them popping out. They're going to come out from underneath the bottom of this piece of wood. And like I say, it's going to take a few days for this to get cured. So I'm not going to go into a lot of further explanation. Sean's got some really valuable videos on his site, and the guy is a master epoxy guy. I'm kind of a lathe guy, or becoming a lathe guy anyway. So this is kind of one of my big first epoxy lathe projects. So if I can do it, you guys can do it. Make sure that you're using the proper products. Make sure that crafted elements, or, you know what, I'm not going to say who else, because you know what, I'll never go to another company. These guys are great. And so that's it. I'm going to let this cure for the next 4, maybe 5 days. And I'm going to keep coming back. We'll check for bubbles and go from there. So fingers crossed, everything's going to work out here. I'm sure it will. Anyway, okay, so we'll be back, and then we'll be going into the wood lathe and going to be silly string. So have a great day. We'll talk to you in a bit. Okay, so I actually took that upstairs where it was a bit warmer. I used the epoxy mold release, and poof, it popped right out, no problem. Come out really clean. Only took about 10-20 seconds to pop that out. There you go. Turned out, I like the way it looks just like that, but nope, we got to put her on the lathe. All right, pre-drill. The epoxy could crack. I pre-drill, put my screws in to put the back plate on. I actually used 8 screws in that to make sure it was on solid. Okay, I'm using the round nose chisel. It really worked well, nice and sharp. I found anything smaller, you get chips. Maybe that's not with everybody, but this is what I used. It worked great. I'm using it initially on the bowl here. Okay, once again, round nose chisel, it's working great. Yeah, put the glove on, man, because I'm telling you, that gets hot. And if a chip comes off, it hurts. Okay, so working my way out to the edge, just going slowly. Once again, using the round nose chisel. I tried other ones, but if it hits the epoxy, it can cause a problem. For me, at any rate. I do switch over to the round tip carbide, just to work the wood from the center out. Now, you can see, working my way back with that. I only go back as far as where the epoxy starts, and then I go back to the round nose. So I'm just using a combination of both there. I'm still just kind of a little bit nervous. I don't want to crack the epoxy. That didn't happen. It actually came off better than the maple. The maple was harder for sure. Okay, sandpaper. I started with the 120, the 400, the 1000. 2,500, this is wet and dry, and to the 5,000. After that, I went to the compound, and the cutting compound, and it worked out really well. Now I'm still learning. It's still got a few things to learn on it. That's the 120. I did get a few scratches here and there. Then had to digress, go back and use the lower grid and work my way back up to get the scratches out. I'm using water. I've got the wet and dry sandpaper here, so that's just soapy water I'm using there. Worked out really well. And it allowed me, I'd stop every once in a while, it allowed me to look for scratches, and then I'd buff them out. It's kind of nice on the lathe, you know, it saves a lot of effort sanding. Does all the work for you. Anyway, okay, so going to use the compound here in a few. That's the 5,000 grit right there, and probably go with the compound here in just a few seconds. And there we go with the compound. Okay, Chris here. I'm going to do the wrap up. I'm going to try to keep this as quick as possible because it's kind of a long video. From the beginning, I want to thank Crafted Elements one more time here for sending me this silicone mold. It's just beautiful. I've done a couple in it. This is the first project I've done for the wood lathe, and it's just a solid, no scratches, no bits, and just fantastic work there. Okay, so, well, here we go. This is her right here. I'll give her a little spin around. Now, might be a couple little imperfections here and there. And I'm still learning a little bit of this and that and the sanding process. But I dare say it turned out pretty darn good. I'll do some nice little close-ups here in a little bit. But, hey, everybody's got to have a first. And that was just a ball. I didn't think my wood lathe would handle it, but it did. And here we are at the end of it. And I love it. And I'll tell you straight up, and just so everybody knows, this first one, giving it to the wife. So I'm committed now. So anyway, she gets that. And I'm going to start doing some more. I've got some other projects that I want to start working on here right away. Unfortunately, during this transition, COVID, like out for 3 weeks. So during in between, I did a lot of this work, half hour here, half hour there. So I'm going to put all the snippets together, do some editing. We'll try to make it short and brief. We'll do some more explanations of sandpaper and all that sort of stuff as we go along. So anyway, that's it for this one. I really appreciate the guys at Crafted Elements. Sean, thanks very much. And I hope to be working with you guys a lot in the near future. So have yourself a great day. This is Chris from King Oak Crafters, and we'll talk to you real soon.